Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tricky Triangle. We're at Pocono Raceway for tonight's running of the SimPossible Racing League Truck Series. About 2 hours west of New York City in the Pocono Mountains. This beautiful facility, well known for its triangular shape, that's why they call it the Tricky Triangle. All 3 corners modeled after various historical racetracks. I believe Turn 1 was the old Trenton Speedway back in the day. Turn 2 modeled after the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and turn number 3 modeled after the Milwaukee Mile. But I'm Cameron Rich here in the booth with AJ Digby and Carlos Acosta manning those cameras, and this should be a very fun race. They got 3 races left to go in the SimPossible Racing League Truck Series, so getting very near the end of this season. We're really seeing the winners and losers of the season right now. We'll go through the points in just a moment, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you, AJ, as a driver yourself, this track is a very different beast than what we usually see at. I think any driver will tell you that Pocono is pretty much either a love-hate relationship. A lot of drivers love it, a lot of drivers hate it, just because of the nature of the track. And I want to ask you, how do you feel about this place, and what have you been able to find success here?
I personally really like Pocono. I think what I like most about it is just it's an interesting track. There's a lot going on with having 3 completely different corners. So there's different parts of the track that you're better at than others, and everything drives different. It doesn't feel repetitive in any way at all, being Pocono. It's a little bit big, and can feel slow at times, but it's a track I've always really liked. I've been pretty good. Had a little bit of bad luck. It was in the worst part of the bad luck stretch for me when we were here last, but it's a track I really like, and I'm excited to see how these guys go around it today.
Absolutely, and we are in qualifying. You see Nate Catilla on the screen right now, completing his first qualifying lap. Currently at the top of the board, Billy Wise in the 32 truck with a 54.925, about a tenth slower than he ran in practice. So we'll see if that is a trend that continues throughout qualifying. See if the track might have slowed down a little bit. There's Kevin Paskowicz, your fastest truck in practice with a 54.294, definitely showing a lot of speed out here today. And points later with 296 points, and then 18 back to Kevin Paskowicz. Fernando Matos in 3rd place. He is a further 12 behind Kevin. Then Alan Capers 4th, Billy Wise 5th, Brian Lowhead 6th, Nate Catilla 7th, Christopher Burge 8th, Johnny Berardi 9th, and yourself, AJ, you are in 10th place due to your 5 starts in the series. So I'm assuming that that's probably going to drop a little bit as you're not running anymore, I believe.
Yeah, I was I believe I was like top 3 early on in the season. I won the first race at Atlanta, or the second race, whatever that was. But yeah, just I've done a couple races. Was last at Road America there last week and second. And otherwise, trucks I'm very much just road course or tracks I absolutely love only. So I definitely am enjoying the broadcast booth. It's been enjoyable up here, but that point standings is definitely going to drop. Kyle Zimmer so far doing a great job in points and holding the top spot. He's our defending Truck Series champion, and while this is a shortened schedule, he's clearly showing he's got a good hold on this truck.
Yeah, and AJ, you know all about that Truck Series, but from last season, I have to say it was probably one of the most epic last laps I've ever seen in sim racing. It really took me a few days to catch my breath from that turn 3 or 4 moment at Homestead when it actually ended up in Kyle Zimmer winning that championship. I know a bit unfortunate for you, but definitely something to remember, even if you are on the losing end of that. I've been there myself where I've lost a championship that way, but you kind of got to think that, hey, it was pretty awesome in the moment, and it's something to remember, even whatever side you are on of that. But coming down about 30 seconds to go in qualifying, Kyle Zimmer currently at the top of the board by about 0.3 of a second over Billy Wise right now. So that number 25 truck showing a lot of speed here in qualifying. It looks like we haven't been able to match the practice times of Kevin Paskowicz at 54.2 ran in practice, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that's probably because the draft, of course, draft here at Pocono, very important. Being so big, and these trucks don't have a ton of horsepower, and they do make a big hole in the air, so definitely drafting going to be a key part in today's race.
Yeah, without such long straightaways here, drafting will play a factor, and that you have these 3 separate corners. There's enough banking in turn 1 that it's not going to hurt you too much. It's really just that tunnel turn and then turn 3 that being in the draft might tighten up the truck a little bit, but it should be some really good racing, especially on that big long straightaway. They're going to get some good runs into one. And, we might be able to see some side-by-side racing through turn one. Obviously, no turn four here. What turn four? Auto here at Pocono.
Absolutely, and that is actually prominently displayed in the turn 3 wall, or on the turn 3 wall, excuse me. We're going to go ahead and go through the grid for you real quick. You see Kyle Zimmer on the pole in that number 25 Chevrolet, and he's going to be starting right next to Billy Wise in the 32 truck. Rolling off in the third position, we have Chris Roberge in the number 98, or excuse me, he's in the 49. And Kevin Paskowicz, fastest in practice, second place in points, going to be rolling off in the fourth position. Nakla and Thomas Wise are going to comprise row number 3, pair of Chevrolets on this row. And the last qualifier of the evening is Johnny Berardi in the number 99. We'll go through the rest of the grid for you real quick. Tom Johnson starting 8th, Alan Capers 9th, Fernando Matos 10th, Eric Minch making his return to the SimPossible Race League after a few month hiatus, starting in 11th, and Brian Lohead, the perennial caboose of the starting grid, going to roll off in 12. So that comprises your 12-car grid for tonight's running of this race, and we're going to be doing 55 laps here at Pocono, and that can go by in a hurry if we don't have cautions, but I think you know this as well as anyone, AJ. Caution laps here take a long time to complete, and I think all these drivers probably hoping that we can get this race over in a timely manner and keep it under green.
Yeah, caution laps can take a long time, and especially with this being a 55-lap race, you're really hoping that it can stay caution-free. With how wide this track is, it tends to invite people to dive down into turn one at the end of the straightaway, and hopefully these guys can keep it clean. Our last race in the B car at Iowa, we had 166 laps that were all green flag, for those of you who are not checked in for that. And that's a tough thing to do at Iowa, especially in the heat of the day. Lately, we've had a lot of green flag races, getting better and more familiar with each other in the series, and hopefully these guys can continue that trend today, as watching pace laps could take a while, but a couple cautions here and there could make things interesting with pit stops and tires and like that. It seems like it's going to be about 20 laps on a fuel run, so if we do stay green, should be expecting 2 stops.
Yeah, and absolutely. One thing you did mention real quick before that we go green here, tires are definitely going to be a factor. I've noticed as a driver myself, this track, even though this is the freshly repaved version of Pocono that we got a couple builds ago, this track is still pretty hard on tires. So you're really going to want to make sure that you can keep those under you all day long and make sure that those tires are pretty good for you. But we're coming through turn 3 right now, not turns 3 and 4. There is no turn 4 here. And that pace car is going to make the hard left turn on pit road, and the green flag should be coming out in just a moment. And there it is, field at the end. Kyle Zimmer, your pole sitter. Everybody got a pretty good restart. No checkups throughout the field, no issues whatsoever. We'll see if we can get some 3 wide here in turn number 1. I don't see anyone making the move just yet. Maybe a little bit further back in the pack, but we're side by side with Billy Wise and Kyle Zimmer into turn number 1. Billy Wise a little bit out of shape there, gets overrun by Chris Roberge, not overrun, but passed up. And he's going to fall back to third under threat from Kevin Paskowicz right now off of turn number 2. See if he can get the momentum down the short chute, or actually this is the long pond straightaway, excuse me. Short chute is the next straightaway. And I think we're going to go ahead and kind of get single file here through turn number 2. You really want to do that. Turn 2 is not the corner where you want to be side by side at it. It's too tight of a radius to do anything with, but still going at it for the third position between Billy Wise and Kevin Paskowicz. Looks like Kevin Paskowicz thought better of that in turn 3. We have some side-by-side, a few cars back in the pack. Alan Capers and Tom Johnson going at it. That's for the, I believe, the 8th position. And you can just see how big this track is, how long this front straightaway is from this angle we have here. You're really full throttle on here for about 10 seconds or so down, and it really is a good drafting opportunity.
Yeah, Kyle Zimmer was just about 3/10 faster than everybody with his qualifying time, and was one of the faster ones in practice as well. But you can see here, this draft is keeping everybody right in it. This front 4 is all together, and Chris Roberge is able to make some moves here because he gets that pull down the straightaway. So if these front 4, either as long as they don't have anything that majorly checks them up, they're going to be able to stay together and pull away from the rest of the group probably.
Yeah, we actually have a battle for the lead between Roberge and Zimmer, and I think Roberge is going to have the advantage off of turn number 3. Drag race to the line. Who's going to get it? I think that it might be, I think it was Roberge that lap, but here comes Kevin Paskowicz thinking about making it 3 wide. Indeed, he does. So we are 3 wide for the lead here at Pocono. Kevin Paskowicz actually made a daring move into turn number 2 on Billy Wise, but he has to check up out of turn number 2. Very close here off of, excuse me, that's turn 1. Very close here off turn number 1, and Kyle Zimmer's going to be able to get the lead back from Chris Roberge. Now Roberge under fire from Paskowicz, as well as Billy Wise. He has inserted himself in battle, so all these trucks really juking for position early on in the going here.
Yeah, like you said, this draft's...
Oh, trouble! Oh! 27, Kevin Paskowicz got a bump from behind from Billy Wise, and he's in the wall off of turn number 2, I believe that is. Yes, it is. And we're going to have our first caution of the day here at Pocono. We'll have to see what happened on the replay, but definitely some contact from behind, AJ.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of contact there. Looked like the left rear of Chris Roberge and the right front of Squitch collided to maybe get the car a little bit loose, and then got a little bit of extra help to send it all the way around from behind. But that was Paskowicz was almost able to hold on if it wasn't for that second tap there in the end, but all in all, these guys are going to be able to use up their 4 fast repairs here and be able to get the cars going back again. As sometime earlier in that run, it looked like Johnny Berardi and Eric Minch both had damage, and they're both in pit road, and they were not involved in that wreck. So something earlier in the run had happened. Hopefully those guys can, like they had a tow, hopefully they can get some fast repairs and maybe get a lucky dog later on.
Yeah, it looked like with Paskowicz, he was trying to make a move into turn number 2 on the 49 of Roberge, and just had to check up because you can't carry momentum through that corner like you want to if you're side by side. That's just one of the perils of racing here at Pocono, and we saw the end result of that. Nothing that either Paskowicz or Billy Wise did wrong there. It was just a matter of circumstance. But I think we're probably going to see a couple cars, maybe. I don't think it's, or I don't think we will see the entire field come down pit road, but maybe if you're 5th place on back, I think we'll probably see some of them come down pit road, just because 4 laps on the tires is something, but it's not really that much of a big deal here. But then again, it is a pretty, we only have, I believe, 10 cars on the lead lap at the moment, so really you can do whatever you want if you're the leader. I don't think it would hurt you too much, but we'll see what happens here. I think that actually there, yeah, you see all the field coming down pit road, except for, I believe that's Tom Johnson staying out. He probably is just going to stay out to lead a lap here. But definitely one of the this pit road is one of the harder ones on the circuit, just because it's so big and wide. It's about as wide as most racetracks we go to, so it really kind of invites itself to speeding on it. I've kind of noticed that myself, and that pit exit line is so far past the first pit box that you can really get caught out by that and really get yourself a penalty pretty easy.
Yeah, both pit exit and pit entrance, with how long pit road is, pit entrance is a lot sooner than you would think. So it'll be really interesting to see over the course of this race if anybody has any speeding penalties, both on entrance or on exit here.
We have some strategy being played early on. Looks like the 17 of Matos and the 49 of Roberge both electing to take 2 tires on their pit stop. A very interesting call right there. I think you know, if you're going to make that call, now is the time to do that, because it's still early on in the race, and if it doesn't work, you know, you still have plenty of time to recover from that if it doesn't. So I like the call. I'm not sure about you, AJ, but I'm always a proponent of doing strategies like that very early on if you can get back from them.
Yeah, I don't know if Chris had tested it out in practice. I know that's something that I tend to do, is run a little bit of a longer run and then take 2 and see how the car goes. But I know that here at Pocono, the right sides are going to wear a lot more than the left. So it should work and should work fine. It's going to get him a couple extra positions. But the only counter to that is that Chris was already up there with Kyle as the front 2. So he really only gains, I believe, 1 spot here by taking 2 tires. So there is a little bit of risk reward there. He does get a spot, and at Pocono, it's while you do have the draft, it can be a little bit of a tougher place to pass. Track position is pretty important. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and how this works in the end. But 2 tires, especially on such a short run like that, shouldn't hurt him too much.
Absolutely, and I think we are not probably at 2 to go right now. Pace car lights are not off yet, so gonna have a couple more minutes of here under caution. And I don't know if there was a lucky dog that caution. I think somebody was a lap down at the time of the yellow, but I'm not sure if
I
that's
believe
gonna
both
actually
lap
come.
down cars were on pit road from that previous incident.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if one of those does get the lucky dog, but definitely don't want to get a lap down here because it is almost impossible to get your lap back under green because of how big the track is. So gonna need those lucky dogs definitely.
On our short first flag run, we were able to see front four kind of break away and separate themselves from the pack, and it'll be interesting now with track position shuffled up a little bit, and some people on fresh tires, some people on new tires. If Zimmer, Roberge, Paskowicz, and Wise will be able to pull away, well, Paskowicz has got to work his way up through the field, but it'll be interesting to see if these guys are able to pull away again and kind of group up, or if this is going to be a full field lineup battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we saw in that first run is going to be kind of a precursor to the rest of the race. I think it'll be pretty hard for these guys to get away from each other, and the draft will definitely be uh, pretty strong for the entire duration of the race, especially with how close in pace all of these drivers are. So I think if you're looking to, and that's really my only downfall of taking two tires because you're not going to be able to get away from anyone, and I think those two tires might be a disadvantage after a few laps, just with having everybody else on a fresh or four fresh tires. So if you can't get away, then it does kind of throw a bit of a wrench into that. But pace car lights finally off, and we're going to be going green racing next lap.
So Cam, you had asked me earlier how I feel about Pocono. I'm going to ask you how you feel about Pocono.
You know, I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with this place. I absolutely love driving it, but I've had a lot of bad luck here just from fuel strategy and stuff like that. So, you know, that's something that I think you brought up. We are looking at about a 20-lap run under green if we, to the for the fuel tank. So that definitely does play into the fact that this track can be one of the toughest ones on the fuel strategy side of things. And I've seen over the years just watching races and being a part of them where, you know, you can be leading the entire race and just come through turn 3 and sputter and lose the race that way. So we might see that come into play later, especially with the caution coming out as early as it is. I think that is going to be something to watch out for later in the race. Real quick, want to give a quick shout out to Grassroots Sim Racing in the chat. How are you doing, bud? Saying good luck, everyone. Good to see y'all come out to hang out with us, and hope that we can see a great race here at Pocono. I think we will once we get back going green here in just a moment. And I don't think for Roberge and Matos, you're not going to have to worry about wheel spin or anything like that on this restart. So it's just going to be a matter of if you have the grip in the tires through turn number 1, probably, because turn 1 is the fastest corner. So that's where you're going to need the most grip. And we'll see if Zimmer or Wise are able to do something with those two trucks in front of them. But the pace car pulls off into the pit road. Everybody is green flag, and it looks like Fernando Matos got a fantastic restart. He was able to actually jump the 49 of Roberge into the lead pretty easily. We'll have to see if that's actually a jump start penalty from iRacing. I don't believe it will be because all these restarts are on green. So either way, good restart for that 17. He has actually taken the lead of the race all by himself in turns 1 and 2, and it doesn't look like that either of those trucks are having too much trouble getting through it. But Kyle Zimmer was able to get around Billy Wise for the 3rd position, and Billy Wise and Zimmer have been two of the trucks that have been up here in the top 4 all day long. So I think actually, trouble with Billy Wise. Actually, as I'm talking about him, got spun around in turn number 2. He's in the wall pretty hard, and I think we're going to have our second caution of the day if he can. Not yet, though. See if he can get that truck spun around and righted. But definitely some contact happening there. I was on board with him when that happened, and he did have some contact from behind. I'm not sure who that was. I couldn't see when the replay started. It might have been the 56 of Tom Johnson, but that's definitely not what he's going to want. That truck is pretty significantly damaged from getting up in the wall, and AJ, you know the damage here really can hurt you pretty significantly because of how big this track is. Aero definitely plays a key factor.
Yeah, this track is really big, and with that comes really long straightaways, and somewhere where you really need the aero, and on top of that, to be able to have the cornering speeds that are needed to have a nice run to get through the straightaways. So that's going to be something that Billy Wise is probably just going to try to hold it out and hope for a caution at some point before he would go a lap down, and then he'll be able to go in and get it paired and get back out on the track. But as they say in show business, the show must go on. As these front four have now pulled away a little bit, and Kevin Paskowicz has made his way from 10th to 5th here in the first few laps after this green.
Yeah, and if we can go back up towards the front of the field, you see that Chris Roberge is actually taking the lead from Fernando Matos. Matos actually dropping back to third, succumbing to Kyle Zimmer as well. And Alan Capers has inserted himself into the battle for lead. He's actually looking on Matos right now off of turn number 1. That's a battle for the third position. That number 13 showing himself to be very fast early on, and maybe those two tires just going away a little bit for Matos at the moment. But I believe he's still running ahead of where he was before the caution. So either way, if he can stay right there, it is a net gain on the pit strategy. Ooh, 49. Ooh, loose. Kyle Zimmer loose as well. Big wreck out of turn number 2. Looks like Alan Capers involved, Kyle Zimmer involved. That was all started because the 49 got a little bit loose off of turn number 2, and looks like he got away pretty cleanly, and definitely cannot say the same thing about Zimmer and Capers. Both of those trucks pretty heavily damaged, but just see get the truck a little bit sideways, and both of those trucks going around for a ride. I'm pretty sure that Billy Wise is going to be happy about seeing that caution, but Zimmer and Capers probably not so much.
Yeah, Billy's going to be able to get a clean truck, but it was almost two separate incidents as Roberge just barely nipped the apron of the tunnel turn, and that's enough to send that truck sideways. And it's almost like Zimmer just didn't know what would happen, and when he tried to turn to the right to dodge it, it just counter-steered up into the wall. So almost two separate incidents. I mean, one of them dodging it, but sadly we have a couple ruined trucks that hopefully we'll be able to go and get fixed and back into continue racing. And this is something that's going to be welcomed for, like we said, Billy Wise to be able to get his truck fixed, but also Kevin Paskowicz, who was involved in the last one, went from 10th to 5th on that restart, and now is able to dodge that and have a good restart, and currently is in third.
Yeah, and the thing for both Capers and Zimmer is that they were able to get going after that wreck. Didn't have to take a tow back to the pits, and taking a tow here really is awful because it's so big that you can be towing for 2 minutes or so, and that really will put you a couple laps down. But looks like both of them down and away, and going to be able to get their trucks fixed up and going again. Actually, the 25 of Zimmer smoking pretty heavily, but he is under power somewhat, so that's good to see. But I do see a little bit of damage on the back of the 27, Kevin Paskowicz. We talked about him being involved in the first accident. I don't believe, I'll have to go back and check on the replay, but don't believe he actually took a fast repair after that incident, so he's just probably going to go ahead and save that one for later on in the race because that rear end is pretty significantly beat up at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I had noticed on one of the caution laps he had come in from way behind the picture. It was almost like he had sat on pit road and just taken some of the damage repair, knowing that he was already going to be at the back of the pack. And I know some of these guys are trying to limit their usage of the fast repairs in some of the future series of this league. We're hoping to drop it down to 2 fast repairs, or hopefully someday even less. I know some people are trying to learn not to rely on those, and if it's a simple fix that can be done without a fast repair, trying to start getting used to using the normal garage repair and save the fast repairs for major damage.
Some more strategy being played for Kevin Paskowicz as we're talking about that. He actually did take his fast repair this time and took 2 tires, so he is the current leader of the race. He did win the race off pit road. I believe he might have been the only driver to take 2 tires. I'd say all the 17 of Matos take 4, and actually the 4 of Nate Catilla has gotten himself up to the 3rd position, 4th position on track now. So One driver staying out at the moment. That is the 0-1 of Eric Minch. He is 1 lap down, so probably going to go ahead and take the wave round. If he doesn't get the lucky dog, I'm not sure if he was in that position at the time of the caution, but either way, is going to be back on the lead lap one way or another.
To add to the interesting strategy calls that have happened so far in this race, I am on board with Kevin Paskowicz, and he is clutching and coasting right now, trying to save some fuel. As the time when this race goes back to green, we're going to be at about 40 to go, and if some of these drivers, including these caution laps, could push it to 21 laps on a stint and this thing stays green, Kevin Paskowicz is trying to make sure that he has a chance to maybe make this on one more stop from here on out and hope that everybody else has to stop twice.
Absolutely, and I think he definitely knows what he's doing. He is the winner earlier in the year at the Michigan International Speedway, and that is a track similar to Pocono in that it's a big, fast track that does require fuel saving sometimes, so definitely going to try to repeat that result from Michigan here today. But I'm going to go ahead and talk to somebody real quick if we can. Working in lap number 13. Let's go ahead and get the 49 of Chris Roberge. Dial him up. See if we can get a quick word with him. Chris Roberge, this is Cam Rich up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
All right, man. Well, you are currently running in the second position. Looks like that you've been quite well up there in the battle. Looks like you had a little bit of a slip up there through turn 2. Got the truck a little bit loose. How's the track feeling for you out there?
It's alright, it's just pushing quite a bit towards there. It's a little tight. But all I gotta do is just take it really easy. That's all I could do. I know I was just testing out the 2-tire change with it, tried it out. It's doing really well at the time being. Then people are catching up slowly. I got loose. But what can I do? I can't do anything. So I just went and took 4 tires instead.
Yeah, absolutely, and definitely came out of that accident better than everyone else. But I'm gonna ask you this: is 2 tires now off the table for the rest of the race, or what?
Don't know. We just have to wait and see, right?
Wait and see. All right, I like that strategy. But thanks for talking with us, Chris. Good luck the rest of the race.
Thank you.
All right, well, AJ, wait and see. That's kind of how I always approach everything. Gotta just kind of take the races as they come to you, right?
Yeah, take the races as you come to you, and Chris Roberge being slightly secretive. I know when my spotter is on, Kevin Vollmer, he usually has this team going in the background, and so when some of these guys get pulled into the interviews, if they share a little bit of information, like we might take 2 tires later on, my spotter's out there looking, so some other teams kind of in a way on the scanner is a possibility, and sometimes short and sweet is the way to go, not only for yourself but also to protect your information.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that is something I try to do too, just get some secrets one way or another. I think I would have to say, just being myself, kind of trying to decipher what he said. I think 2 tires probably is on the table for the rest of the race. I think he knows what to expect now a little bit better, and it really did not work too badly until that turn 2 incident. Now that he knows to expect that, it can, it's not really going to be an issue anymore.
Yeah, he took 2 and was still holding on to the lead there, so I think it's definitely something that he knows can work. And the only reason that he got loose was because he touched the apron, which 0, 2, 4 tires, none of those is going to make a difference if you're going to hit the apron. So I think he knows in his back pocket that that's something that he could pull out later on if he needed. But for right now, we're not even halfway yet, and might as well go take 4 tires if everybody else is going to go in. And that's what he decided to do, and is still sitting in second.
Real quick, reset the field for you guys, and in just a little bit of time. Kevin Paskowicz currently your leader. Chris Roberge, who we just talked to, in second. Fernando Matos third. Nick Attila fourth. And Kyle Zimmer rounds out your top 5 at the moment. The pace car pulls left onto pit road, and the field in the hands of Kevin Paskowicz. And it looks like he got a pretty good restart. We're kind of draft blocking down the front stretch with Chris Roberge and Nick Attila. You can see how close those 2 trucks are together. Some connection issues for the 27 at the time being, but it looks like he got those sorted out. No harm, no foul. But side by side, 4th, 3rd, Fernando Matos and Nick Attila. Here comes Kyle Zimmer in that battle as well. He's going to make it 3 wide off turn number 1 on the bottom of the racetrack. I think he has the momentum to make that move stick. But actually, no, trouble. Ooh, Matos got turned around from the 4 of Nick Catilla, and he went for a bit of a ride there, but looks like, we're still wrecking here. Number 17 sideways, and I believe that was Billy Wise involved again. Yes, it is. At number 32, getting in his second big accident of the day. Just looks like they ran out of racetrack here, AJ.
Yeah, those guys were 3 wide coming out of the corner, and looks like there wasn't much contact there. Possibly a bit of netcode, which happens here in iRacing and virtual sim racing. Not everybody can have perfect internet connection, but these guys were 3 wide, good racing. But I don't know if Matos knew how close he was to the wall. I don't know if it was just all someone tried to side draft and got some netcode, but sadly it sent those cars around and caused a whole heap of trouble behind it, as that's right in the middle of the straightaway with the whole pack coming up from behind.
And unfortunately for the 32 of Billy Wise, you see it on your screen. That truck was that did actually kill a motor. That was a pretty violent hit. He's being pushed from behind from Matos. Good to see that. Some work or good sportsmanship there from Matos, trying to push that 32 back to the pits so he can get it fixed up. I believe that we'll see where the pace car is coming through turn 2 right now. They might be able to get it back to the pits in time to not go a lap down, but either way, that's not what Billy Wise needed. He was already involved in one accident already, and that's the second fast repair he's going to have to take of the day, so not the way he wanted to start his race.
Gonna have to be careful as well. Something that's happened to me and a couple other guys before is when you lose that engine, you obviously lose the ability to go forward and backwards. And in iRacing, once you actually go to the left side of pit lane, cars are basically ghosted, so there's no contact. That way, people aren't just driving around and hitting each other in pit lane. So they're gonna have Billy's gonna have to be careful to stop perfectly on his mark, so that way he can get this thing repaired. Because sometimes iRacing can glitch out that if you just barely miss it forward, that it won't let you reset. But luckily, Billy, perfect brakes to get right to his box and get fixed up, and hopefully he can get back out there before the cars you mentioned, because this pace car is coming down the straightaway.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be just fine. Pace car just passed the line a moment ago, and he is off pit road. So Fernando Matos actually electing not to take a pit stop just yet. He drove straight on through pit road, and I think that was probably the smart thing to do, just to make sure he doesn't go a lap down. But there's Eric Minch right there. My mistake, last caution, say he was going to be on the lead lap or after that, but he was moved from 2 laps down to 1, and now he's going to be on the lead lap most definitely. So whole field on the lead lap right now. Good to see that, and definitely everybody going to have a chance to get their trucks fixed up and run the last 38 or so laps under green.
Yeah, Nate Katilas is out, has a little bit of front end damage, and then Chris Roberge and Kevin Paskowicz decided to stay out, which is interesting. If Kevin Paskowicz is he started to save fuel on that last caution, and probably knows that with these extra caution laps, if he saves a little bit more fuel, that it's better to have the track position than it is to pit, take 4 tires, lose some track position, and know for sure you can make it. I think he's pretty confident with his fuel saving and calculations that right now he wants to stay out in front, especially with the amount of cautions and wrecks that we've had. It's kind of better to be up front and hopefully away from all of that.
And I was actually looking at the 4 of Nate. You see it at the right side of your screen right now. That truck is actually pretty significantly damaged in the front. He was involved in the last caution at the contact with the 17 of Matos, and he actually did get in the wall pretty hard, and from, of course, the front end damage from the 17 spinning around. But I would definitely probably go ahead and fix that if I were him, because that is going to hurt his performance, I have to think, once we get back on green.
Yeah, we'll see here. He might drop the pit lane, but he might decide to stay out. I don't know if he knows if he has that front end damage, or if he's thinking, I'm going to just hold on and expecting maybe another action to be able to get it fixed then. But either way, he's going to enjoy being third for now. But I know that we say it every single week, but Kyle Zimmer made a great 3-wide move to down on the bottom on that last restart, and he's in 4th right now, but he was towards the lead earlier before getting in that caution. But he's always lurking, as we've mentioned before, and he definitely made a great move there on that last restart, and is showing that he has speed, he's got pace from no matter where in the field he's going to be at.
Absolutely, and that is definitely one of the reasons why he is as successful as he is. We'll go and look at the weather real quick. Air temperature 73 degrees right now. Track temperature 110, so it's pretty toasty out here at the Pocono Raceway. And I would say that weather probably not too indicative of how it actually is outside right now. I know here it's about 95 or so, so it's probably hot or low 90s up near Pocono. But either way, track is still pretty hot, and we have seen a bit of low grip conditions out here already. A couple trucks getting sideways and a couple incidents because of that. But looks like everybody's dealing with it pretty well, and this is the new surface of Pocono, like we mentioned already, and I think I'm probably a bigger fan of the old surface of Pocono just because it was so fun to drive on. It was so bumpy and so kind of trash that it really was even more of a driver's track than the track already is, even with the fresh pavement.
Yeah, certain tracks, the best way to describe it is they have a lot of character to them. Iowa's one of those that it's bumpy and a little bit older to where, and Atlanta for sure is one that has character just because of the age of its pavement. And I know that sometimes it can be a little bit too bumpy, and having the extra grip can be nice, but sometimes having these type of character tracks make it more of a driver's track. It's a little bit more into the hands of the driver to be able to wheel the thing around, and less of just full on.
Interesting.
Got a couple cars dropping to pit lane.
Yeah, interesting development here. It looks like Nate Catilla probably electing to come down and get that damage fixed. I definitely would recommend that. We'll see if he does, and yes, he does. So coming down on the pit road with, I believe we do have one lap to go under caution. So probably thinking about fuel strategy at this point, coming down at this point. And I know that Nate Catilla, he has a spotter with him, Wayne Lowe, probably telling him what to do. We'll go ahead and jump into that channel here in probably sometime later in the race and just kind of listen to the team communication between those two, because it always is a treat to listen to, just hearing the communication between Wayne Lowe and Nate Catilla. And we can actually probably go ahead and do that on this restart once we get through turn
Kind of a quick
3.
note, because I know I have my spotter on a lot, and the interesting thing listening to different people's spotters is that each person has a completely different preference out of their spotter. Some people want them to be very chatty, some people want them to just give them basic, almost crew chiefy information, but it's always a treat for me to listen in on people. And some of it I'm like, hey, I like this, and I tell my spotter, hey, I want you to start telling me this, or things like that. And spotters are a huge help, because while you might know that guy's there, that spotter can tell you where he's at on your car, like if you're leading it, or the moment that you're clear, or how much up the track he is, how much space you have. So always awesome to be able to listen into these spotters, as we'll give you guys a treat here at some point, probably here.
We'll actually jump into team communication between those two right now. So we'll go ahead and take the restart in the channel with Nate Catilla and Wayne Lowe.
Green. Inside 66. Clear, all clear. Yeah, it's a stop and go. I don't know why, but it is stop and go. There should be 4 E's then. Hit this time. Out. Yeah, Brian's got to come down too. There he is at the bottom. If nobody else comes down, don't come down. Don't come down. Stay out there. I'm going to check with Jeff here.
Okay.
So a bit of an interesting development there. It looks like the Ford Nate Catilla has a penalty, a stop and go penalty for something, but I believe Wayne Lowe, his spotter, is negotiating with Jeff Schmidt, league owner and organizer, to probably try to get that cleared. There might be an erroneous iRacing penalty, but we'll have to wait and see. later on in the race. Back here at the front, Christopher Burge, currently your leader, being followed closely by the 27 of Kevin Paskowicz. Christopher Burge is actually able to get around Paskowicz, who was the leader on the restart, but Paskowicz not letting Burge. Ooh, trouble! As we're saying that, sideways through turn 3, Alan Caper sideways as well. They're in the grass, but somehow, my goodness, they were able to save that. Still sideways, that truck is still all out of whack. It is not happy at all, but it looks like everybody was able to keep going straight. It's absolutely incredible driving by both of their parts. We'll see what happened here in turn 3. I think just a little bit too much send into the corner for Paskowicz. I don't think he was expecting Roberge to check up like he did, and unfortunately some contact made there, but the good news is both trucks still going straight and not too much damage for either Capers or Paskowicz. We do have a caution out in the racetrack for something. I'm not sure exactly what. Ooh, 27. So something, definitely not a good 2 laps for Kevin Paskowicz. He was turned around somehow. We'll see what happened in the replay. But from getting sideways in turn 3 to here he coming through 1 right now. Ooh, some netcode with the 99 of Johnny Berardi and got himself spun out in the wall and stopped sideways on the track there for just a moment. But definitely not a good couple laps for him. He was started the restart in the lead and now is spun out of turn number 1. He's going to be at the back of the pack once again.
Yeah, Kevin Paskowicz is not going to be happy about it, but he had gone from 10th to 5th previous in a stint, so maybe getting some fresh tires and not worrying about fuel could end up benefiting him here. And with being such a short run there, some of these guys might decide to stay out, and while it would only be about 1 lap fresher tires, it could end up helping him in the long run here. But just unfortunate circumstances there, is a little bit netcode played into factor, but right before that, unbelievable saves, just people letting off at different places and just kind of caught him off guard. But unbelievable save by Paskowicz to keep it straight, and then Capers to collect it on the apron, or the little warm-up pull-in lane or whatever it's called, and access road, I guess. And unbelievable by both of those guys to keep it forward and keep racing. But the interesting thing, Eric Minch was involved in the early caution and was 2 laps down, and here he is. He drove right through the field up into 2nd place.
Absolutely, and one thing I want to kind of expand upon a little bit, AJ, you probably know this as well as I do, but this is one of the tracks where we saw an incident, well, having seen an incident about different braking points just a moment ago. Really, it is a big thing here because of the fact that these straights are so long and you can't really see through the car in front of you. So I've always had trouble going through turn number 2 because of it. I think it's just a little bit harder to see through that corner than anyone else, but I definitely can see how that would happen in turn 3 as well. Just different braking zones kind of coming to an instant like that.
Yeah, turn 1 tends to be one of the easier ones. While it does have a little bit more actual braking, there's those cones on the wall that are very easy to see, and such a long straightaway you kind of can feel it coming. But especially in these trucks with the big spoiler there on the back, it's really hard to see. You can't really see through, especially if you're close behind somebody. So both in 2 and 3, if you're behind somebody and even slightly off kilter to the right, you really can't see much ahead. So you have to go a little bit based off of instinct, and a little bit you're kind of just following the other driver. And on top of that, different people are going to have different strategies. Some people are going to try to let off late and maybe tap the brakes a little bit and drive it in deep, and some people are going to try to let off early, coast through, and get a hard power off, especially with how long these straightaways are. So possibly some differences in line strategies, as well as just sight lines being a little rough, combined to impact that caution.
Absolutely, and some activity on pit road further on in the pack. I believe Billy Wise was the first one off pit road, and looked like everybody took 4 tires on that. Probably just packing the truck full of fuel so they won't have to worry about the rest of the race. We are well within the 1-stop distance from here on out, so all these drivers are going to have to make only 1 more stop. So 2-stop strategy well out the window. I want to actually get a word with the 27 of Kevin Paskowicz, who has admittedly not had a great race so far, but I think he does have the speed in that truck to get back to the field. So we'll go and just talk to him real quick and see what his strategy is. I believe he is off of the pit road. Yes, he is. So get a quick reward with him. See if we can find him up here. Got a word from our producer that we are 1 to green, and yes, the base lights do actually confirm that. So it seems like this was a bit of a quicker caution than we have. No trucks 1 lap down, so good to see that. We'll try to get a word probably next caution if we get one. Hopefully we don't, but we will see. But you know, I think actually Kevin Pasquich should be starting about 8th place, 4th place on that high side, so he's not too bad off right now. Definitely can make his way through the field. Like we said, Eric Minch got himself in trouble early on and was able to get himself back up to the field pretty quickly. So I think that 27 will be pretty fine. As well as Kyle Zimmer, he's back there. Saw him in trouble a little while ago. He was your pole sitter tonight and has led the majority of the laps, I believe, or early on. So he's definitely going to want to get himself back up to the field.
Yeah, they always say cautions breed cautions, and this kind of race has kind of been evident of that. And the fact that when something happens and you get wrecked, especially when it's wrecked towards the front, some of these faster guys end up towards the back. And so just the field kind of almost being inversed naturally lead to a little bit more closer racing, and in some cases, as we're seeing here, some net code as well, and just compounding into being more cautions. But I believe if these guys can get about a lap or two away from the green flag, that they'll be able to stay green for a while. But as I had mentioned earlier, Eric Minch was able to come from 2 laps down, and on that last restart drove up to 2nd. So it'll be really interesting to see how he is now having a chance up at the front, and we'll see if he's able to take this lead or at least stay up in it.
And the pace car pulling off on a pit road right now. Green flag out for Christopher Burge, and the rest of the field looks like a pretty good start for everyone. Christopher Burge noses ahead of Eric Minch by just a little bit. This battle for 3rd place. Fernando Matos and Thomas Wise. Matos on that outside line. We're looking from the rear of Roberge's truck right now into turn number 1. He's going to clear the 0-1 of Minch. We'll see if Minch can get that outside line working to his advantage. I don't believe he got a little bit tight off of turn number 1. Some trouble in the pack. 25 around, looks like not sure who else that was, might have been the 56 of Tom Johnson. I see Nate Catilla down there. Alan Capers might have been involved as well, but the 99 of Berardi, number 4 of Nate Catilla, has a bit of damage on his truck. So AJ, I think what you said just came true once again. These cautions are absolutely breeding cautions.
Yeah, and good that Kyle Zimmer and Kevin Pasquich both making moves, and just a little bit of free wide, a little bit of tight racing as those faster guys in the back are starting to try to make some moves up towards the front. And some unfortunate things too. I know most of these guys do not have spotters other than the basic iRacing ones, and sometimes those iRacing ones don't inform you very well. So it's just kind of been an interesting thing where we can't seem to get past the first lap, but do have some great racing other than the slight bit of contact that we're having, and especially at a high speed track like that, this contact isn't gonna just go away with itself when you're at like New Hampshire or something where you can make some contact but keep going.
Absolutely, and I think pretty much everyone in the field at this point has been involved in something. I have to think it's definitely the top 5 have all been involved in something. Kevin Pasquich, we know about his struggles. Tom Johnson, I think he's been able to relatively keep himself pretty clean. Actually has a little bit of damage on that truck right now. Alan Capers involved in something. Brian Lohead, I think he might have been involved in one of the earlier cautions. Nick Catilla, Kyle Zimmer, Johnny Berardi all involved in something as well. So tough conditions out here tonight for these drivers, and it's really kind of a wrench thrown in this entire race, just how much issues there have been for everyone. So I'm not sure if it's track conditions or just different braking points or whatever, but definitely it's proving tough tonight.
Yeah, both track position, different braking points, different tires right now. I know sometimes it can only be a lap or two, but even a lap at speed at Pocono can take 3% off the right front tires and make that car push a little bit more up the wall, and then you're trying to oversteer to not hit the wall, and sometimes that leads you to steer down. But just different things kind of compounding to breed some of these cautions. I don't know how cautions breed necessarily, but that's a talk for science in another day.
Race car science, absolutely. We love it here up in the 3-wide TV booth. You see the 25 of Kyle Zimmer. He's at the back of the train on pit road. That truck's smoking once again. And definitely we know that smoking is bad for you and smoking is bad for that engine. So we've seen that before. And Kyle Zimmer not having a very good race up to this point, but I would definitely not count him out just yet. We have seen him have a lot worse races than this and come back to win if, finish top 5, if not win the race. So we'll probably see a very angry Kyle Zimmer charge through the pack here once we get going green again. But before we see that, I wanted to, we were going to go ahead and talk to the 27 of Kevin Paskowicz. Last caution, did not get the chance to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and drag him down once again, get a word with him. All right, Kevin Paskowicz, this is Cam Rich up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Oh, pretty good. We tried to get you last caution, but we said no because you were going green. But probably not the perfect race for you. Looks like everybody else out there having trouble as well. Just kind of want to know what's going on. Is the track pretty slick out there, or what's up?
I think for everyone else it's really tight. For me, it's actually really loose. I can't hardly turn the truck without the rear end breaking on me. So. But most of the other guys saying it's pretty tight through some of the corners. So that's what it is. Yeah, it's not the best track conditions. Fun to drive. Don't get me wrong, fun to drive and try and manhandle it around. But yeah, it's different out here today.
Absolutely, and I want to ask you. You've been involved in a couple incidents yourself, but I'd have to say from myself, it looks like you have a lot of speed in that truck. Do you think you can get up there and challenge for the win?
I hope so. That's the goal. We were asked this in practice, so see what we can do. This is one of my better tracks. Actually, the track I won my first ever truck race on. So we'll see how it goes. Cross our fingers and do our best.
I don't mean to give away any strategy goals or anything like that, but just wondering, with some of these incidents happening with you and some of these other drivers, I saw earlier it seemed like you were maybe saving a fast repair. How are you doing on repairs, and do you have enough left if this thing keeps on like this?
I hope it does. I hope I have enough. It might become an issue. They actually, it was funny, that first little spin we had that we just tapped the wall must have been enough to do some engine damage, because I lost a lot of speed and I lost a lot of engine power out of it. So had to end up burning one for that a couple of cautions later. But yeah, I'm going to try and hold on to what's left as best I can. We'll see how it goes.
Good luck with the rest of the race. Hope we can get some green flags, and going to be fun to see you move up through the field.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, that's definitely a interesting development if some of these drivers do run out of fast spares or whatever. But I think probably get some green flag racing here. I think we are past halfway now, so all these drivers kind of calm down a little bit and kind of feeling the trucks out, feeling the track out a little bit, and I think we'll see some racing here pretty shortly.
Yeah, it doesn't help having this much caution. Sometimes people get jittery, people get excited, and then when it does goes green, want to make moves and end up causing another caution. But I know with Kevin, it seemed like he was saving fast repairs, so he might be in an okay spot, but some of these guys might have used him every single time, so it'll be interesting to see how that develops as we hit green flag now, and off we go. And Chris Burch has a good start, but Mitch is holding on strong on the outside.
Yeah, it looks like, Kyle Zimmer in trouble a little bit. He can get going, might have missed a shift or something. He got bumped from behind from, I believe that was the 56 of Tom Johnson. That's going to be some front-end damage for Johnson and some rear for Zimmer, but some contact in turn number 1 with Minch and Roberge. They were able to keep it together. We're going to be 3 wide, I believe. Yes, we are. Alan Capers, Billy Wise, and Minch right now. 3 wide out turn number 1. It's very tight. You see Kyle Zimmer charging through the field right there. He's looking to maybe go 3 wide. No, he's going to think better of it, but making the move on Kyle Zimmer and Thomas Wise right now. Looks like we were able to get through turn 2 cleanly. Yes, we were. So might be getting set to go racing here. We have battle for the lead, Roberge, and there's Eric Minch that's Kevin Paskowicz, who we just talked to, on the inside of turn number 3. He's going to try to make the move off of that corner. Yes, he was going to be able to clear Roberge, but here comes Alan Capers. We saw all of these drivers involved in various incidents throughout the day. Look at them right up here, back up, fighting for the lead, so good to see that. But See some draft dodging from the 27, pulling his truck down on the front stretch down to that inside line, just trying to keep that number 49 from getting some of his draft off the corner. He's actually going to lose second place to that's Alan Capers. Getting them mixed up a little bit here, but that move that number 13 to the second position. See if he can go for the lead here in just a moment.
Yeah, the Chris Burge had been looking on the inside as there's contact farther back in the pack. Another car around in the wall coming out of the tunnel turn.
And just as we were getting going green, another caution here at Pocono. 01 of Eric Minch involved. I see the 4 of Nick Catilla involved as well. Let's see what happened here on the replay. I believe just actually it was out of our frame a little bit there. There was some contact from the 1 of Thomas Wise to the back of the 01. So I'm not sure how Nick Catilla was involved in that. We'll have to check that again. But either way, both of those trucks are going to be probably the fast pairs after that one.
Yeah, some pretty rough contact there for the back of the pack. Just people turning each other, but as I was starting to say, Chris Burge got passed for a second there by Alan Capers. Chris had looked to the inside of Paskowicz in turn 1 and 2, and meanwhile Capers was able to take the high line, take the apex how he wants, and with having such a long, flat, open track all around these long straightaways, it really led to Chris lost a lot of momentum, and Capers was able to carry the momentum, and that's how he lost the position, and that's how this thing is going to start going if it can get green. It's a big momentum track, so it's going to be a lot of trying to keep your momentum while still being able to try to make some moves.
And while we're under caution, I think we could probably dial up someone else. I believe probably talk to the 13 of Alan Capers. You want to go ahead and take that away, AJ?
Yep.
And we'll wait until the pit stops are done. If these guys do like to come down pit road, but I'll go ahead and dial him up for a later time, about a lap later. I'm going to be interested to see if these cars do come down pit road, because we really haven't gotten a lot of laps on the tires under green, but we have seen that, like you said, AJ, one lap does make a difference, and I believe all these drivers are going to elect to come down pit road.
Look, we got a long line of every single truck entering pit road this time, so we'll see who pulls under their pit box fast, who can get a fast stop and gain or lose track position. A lot can happen here on pit road.
I'll be interested to see if we see any two-tire stops as something that, without a lot of green laps on the tires, I think is absolutely on the table for some of these drivers. Maybe even that number 49. He was third place coming into pit road. We saw him take 2 before, and he's definitely going to probably think about it once again. But it looks like most of these drivers are going to go ahead and elect to take 4 tires. We'll see if anyone tries to roll the dice. I don't believe so. No, it's 4 tires for most of the field, and off pit road, led by Kevin Paskowicz.
Yeah, I think 4 tires and fuel is the norm. Some of these guys could also be thinking about, if this were to go green, they're about 22 laps out, but there's also some caution laps, so we might see some people to clutch it here on the pace lap and save fuel. As soon as I said that, Kevin Paskowicz dropped the clutch as I'm riding on board with him. But if this thing were to go green, some of these guys might be thinking about trying to make it to the end, and hopefully they're hoping that some of the other drivers not think about it and have to splash and go towards the end of the stint.
Yeah, let's go ahead ride on board with the 27 real quick, because he definitely is shutting that car off. Look at his tachometer from our Robar camera, but definitely saving some fuel at the moment. See it right there, the engine shut off. We'll go ahead and dial up Alan Capers real quick, and I believe where is he? He's right here, and you can go and take it away, AJ.
Hey, Alan Capers, this is AJ Digby in the Thru-Ride TV booth. You got a copy?
10-4, what's going on?
Well, this has been a very up-down race for most of the field, it seemed like, and on that last restart, you were in third and were able to carry the momentum through 1 and eventually make the move on Chris Burge for second. You definitely have some speed in this truck. You think you're going to be able to get this thing back up to the front?
No, I don't have a clue at this point. This has been ugly, man. This track is interesting.
You said the track's interesting. Is it tight? Is it loose? We've heard some drivers say both. We've heard some drivers say one or the other. It seems like there's not a big consensus.
It depends on where you are and what the circumstance is. You know, whether you're getting dirty air from somebody or you're not on the right line. This place, there's one line. This place is super wide, but there's one line. That's it.
And last question is, with this being almost a mini demo derby around Pocono here in Pennsylvania, how are you doing on faster pace, and do you think you'll be good here towards the end?
I hope I have enough left. uh, but yeah, as long as you know, we can get it green for about 3 or 4 laps, I think that you know, stretching that out should not be a problem. It's you put all these things together and bricks. The dirty air really. It doesn't even do me justice to try to verbally describe it.
Very interesting stuff there. Thanks for the insight, Alan Capers, and best of luck here. And hopefully we can get some green laps and get back up towards the front.
Look forward to it. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
I know I've asked 2 drivers now, but definitely you can hear some hesitation on the fast repair department. Nobody's wanting to throw out any numbers, but it'll be interesting to see how that shapes up towards the end here in the race, as Kevin Paskowicz is still trying to save some fuel until this thing goes green. And definitely some drivers hope for it to stay green, but just continually having slight contacts here and there.
And one thing I want to make a note of, AJ, I heard this in practice from a couple drivers, but I heard that, like you said, the fuel run is about 20 laps. We have 21 to go right now. We're going to have 20 to go at the line. And I think that is right on the cusp of making it the rest of the way. Of course, running under caution, Kevin Paskowicz doing all he can to save some fuel here and there. But of course, you know, I think we're going to be very close if somehow we can go green the rest of the way, and I think we might see some drivers run out of fuel because of that.
Yeah, this could be a situation, if it were to go green, that some drivers run out of fuel, even coming out of turn 3, and some drivers could run out earlier in the run. Some could decide, hey, I'm not going to make it, I'm going to come in and take fuel, and some could just say, I'm not going to make it, and split it in half and try to take tires and split the thing up completely. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully we can get some green flag, because strategy could be really close here, and it almost seems like Paskowicz is committing to, I'm not going to pit again if this does stay green. So a lot of different things could happen here, and these caution laps are definitely going to help these guys on fuel, but it'll be interesting to see how this goes along the run.
And one thing to note, if you know, even if we do get a caution once again, for someone like Paskowicz or anyone else that's saving right now, if you can save some fuel, that potentially might mean your pit stop is a little bit shorter. If you don't have to take fuel, or if you can only take a splash of fuel and not have to fill it all the way up. So definitely something to think about later on in this race. But we're about to go green here. Once again, you see what turn 4 there on the wall right now, and I'm sure the track asking a lot of questions right now, but pace car is off. We're green once again here at Pocono. We have 20 laps to go once we reach the line right there. So 20 laps to go in this race. But Kevin Paskowicz and Chris Burge side by side for the lead. I think Paskowicz has the better run into one. I think he will be able to clear the 49. Billy Wise, you see him in 3rd place right now. He's been involved in several incidents of his own. Here comes Kyle Zimmer. Ooh, trouble. Paskowicz bumped from behind from the 49 and sideways in turn number 1. He's going to be missed by everyone. Wow. Once again,
Paskowicz did a fantastic job to keep that off the wall, but once again, a car from behind just on different gassing points, and Roberge has almost got to realize that he has a better apex. He's coming down off the corner as Paskowicz is coming up, and Paskowicz isn't going to have the same amount of speed there as he just gets into the back. But again, Paskowicz with another fantastic save to, luckily by everybody else, be able to miss him. Great skill by them, but also by him to be able to keep it off the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, getting spun out from the lead in the middle of the pack like that, it's not typically something you would expect to not get hit from, but everybody doing a good job to miss him, and probably not going to have to take a fast repair for that one. Definitely no damage on the front end. Rear a little bit crinkled up, but that's from the contact from behind with Verge. I think he will probably elect to come down and just fix that normally, not take a fast share. But definitely, you know, it's I think now that caution has come out, I think the fuel issue is well out the window. I think all these drivers are just going to have to, or not going to worry about it anymore. Pasquich probably a little bit ticked off that he was saving so much for that, for the potential of green flag to the end and being the caution that kind of eliminated that possibility. So definitely with all the issues he's had this race, probably not too happy about the way things have gone so far.
Yeah, I've been there personally. I've had a couple races where I tend to be the guy that's, hey, let's eliminate pit stop, let's save some fuel, and it happened, I believe, in Kentucky in the B cars a couple weeks ago, and it's just one of those situations where it's like, man, I saved it, like I made it to the point where I needed to be. I would have had the strategy. I think Pasquich knew that he was probably the only one who was saving under caution, at least from what I could tell, and knew that he could probably make it to the end at that point, or it would at least be close enough where he could, and he would think he's the only one on that strategy, and by not pitting, especially on this long of a pit road, that he would have basically just secured a win if it would have gone green. But it's really frustrating sometimes when you know that you have a strategy that can win if things play out your way, and it feels like it's almost 99.9% of the time that things don't go your way when you only want them to go your way at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Racing is definitely very unfair, but we see some activity on pit road right now. Kyle Zimmer on pit road, as well as, I believe, 32 Billy Wise, Fernando Matos. So most of the field electing coming down right now. Chris Berge, interesting enough, he's staying out on the racetrack, and Nate Catilla, Eric Minch, and there's Johnny Berardi as well. They're electing to stay out on the racetrack for the time being. Probably not too worried about their fuel situation, because I think the common conception from everyone is that 2 caution laps equals about 1 green flag lap, so you can definitely save some fuel under caution just by being under caution, even if you don't shut your car off or whatever. So I think most of these drivers are probably good to go. It's never a bad thing to have some reassurance, though, by getting some extra fuel and making sure that, well, now with the possibility of green white checkers on iRacing, that's something you definitely have to worry about now. And with the way this race has gone, probably something you have to worry about even more than normal.
Yeah, definitely some of these guys either aren't worried about fuel, or we could see them pit here in the next lap or two to try to secure some extra fuel for a green white checkered. And some of them might end up staying out and hoping that, hey, let's get some track position, let's get in front of some of these guys and see what can happen. But it'll be interesting to see as I'm riding along with Chris Berge right now, and it seems like he's starting to drop the clutch or shift up to try to keep the RPMs low. And some of these guys definitely thinking about fuel. We'll see how it ends up playing out.
I want to take this moment, get a quick word with somebody else. Probably, let's get the 01 of Eric Minch. He's currently running in second place. See if we get the pace lights off this lap. I think we have some issues here under caution. The 4 of Nate Catilla getting involved in something. He was turned from behind, I believe, from 01 of Eric Minch into the wall. Look at that. So not sure what happened there, but we're gonna axe that interview because we are 1 to go and have some issues here. Not sure what the deal is there, but either way, that's not. I'm not sure, AJ. I'm really not sure.
To be honest, from what it appears to me is with Roberge dropping the clutch and trying to save fuel, he's slowing up a little bit based off of the pace car's pace. And Otillo was trying to catch up to Roberge, not realizing he was going that slow, and so he had to get on the brakes, and it was almost just a caution chain reaction of starting off with somebody saving fuel and the others not realizing how slow they're going.
So the wildness continues here, even under caution, and can have 16 laps to go once we get back to the line. We'll go and reset the top 10 for you real quick. Chris Berge, currently your leader. Eric Minch was second, but now that is now occupied by Johnny Berardi. Kyle Zimmer third, Billy Wise fourth, Alan Capers fifth, Fernando Matos sixth, Tom Johnson seventh, Brian Lowhead eighth, Thomas Wise ninth, and Kevin Paskovich is in 10th. So both Minch and Catilla, unfortunately, having to pit under, or excuse me, Eric Minch is in 3rd, so excuse me for that. But Nick Catilla was running in the 3rd position, I believe, and unfortunately had to pit under that caution. That was a pretty hard hit into the turn 3 wall, but going through turn 3 right now, getting set to go back green once again. Field in the hands of Chris Berge. I believe at this point he has led the most laps, has been out front for a long time. The green flag is out, and everybody away pretty well. Here comes Kyle Zimmer on, he was looking on Eric Minch for just a moment, but had decided better of it. Johnny Berardi, not a great start for him. He's actually 3 wide, falling back through the pack a little bit, but it looks like everybody was able to get by him pretty well. He's looks like that truck was not up to speed just yet, but single file for about the first 7 or so cars right now, maybe 8 or 9. Battle for position with Alan Capers and Kyle Zimmer off of turn number 1. That is for the 3rd position, but at the front it's Eric Minch and Chris Berge, currently your leader. I think that 0-1 of Eric Minch on his return to the SimPossible Race League, probably going to want to come out here and get a win if he can. So he's going to be very aggressive with that 49 truck into turn number 3, but backs off early, trying to get that good run working from the rear of Roberge's truck right now. Best battle on the track right now is for the 6th position, Matos and Paskovich going at it right now with Brian Lowhead close in tow.
Roberge pulling down on the straightaway, trying to break the draft, already getting a little bit of mind games and thinking ahead a little bit.
Absolutely, and I believe Kevin Paskovich was able to take the position away from Fernando Matos, so we're single file throughout most of the field right now off of turn number 1. Actually, as I say that, here comes Alan Capers on a battle for 2nd with Eric Minch. He's on the bottom side into turn number 2. We know that's been a trouble spot all race. We'll see if he can make the move stick or not. I believe that yes, he will actually. No, Eric Minch fighting back tough on the outside line. That's a hard move to make, but he did it well and is probably going to be able to get the run into turn number 3. Might be able to keep his position around the outside of that corner. And we see Eric Minch, or excuse me, Alan Capers all the way in the grass almost through turn 3. We'll see if he can get the run off of the corner. But we are still side by side down the front stretch here at Pocono.
Yeah, Alan Capers showing his strength by making these moves, but Eric Minch showing he's got speed too by holding tough on the outside. If you can keep that guy from being able to drive up off to the wall, especially in some of these low camber corners like in 2 and 3, that you can hold tough on that outside, but here in the extra banking, Capers is able to drive through, and Paskovich and Zimmer are both going to look to make moves as well.
Almost had some 3 wide up to 1. One of Minch got way high through that corner, but was able to keep it out of the wall, and he's going to lose the position to probably Kyle Zimmer and Kevin Paskovich through 2. Yes, he does, and actually under 5 from Billy Wise as well, so that little slip up is going to cost him about 3 positions on the racetrack, so not what he wanted to see, but it is still quite a bit of racing here left to go, and I wouldn't be too excited about my chances of not seeing a caution once again, but we are finally getting into a groove here. Now Berardi in trouble off number 2, but gets it straighted once again and is going to not bring out a caution. See what happened here on the replay. It looks like he was well out of shape once our replay started and just never really was able to get it going. Once again, in the wall pretty hard. Ooh, some smoke coming out of there, so that's definitely be a faster pair if he has any left. But still battling here for the 5th position. Minch and Billy Wise going at it. It's actually a bit of a hornet's nest here, a few trucks behind the lead.
Yeah, as I had mentioned early on, once we get some green flag racing at the big momentum track, and we had seen Eric Minch got up into the wall on the end of 1 and lost 3 spots out of it and left him in this side-by-side battle just simply by losing all of that momentum. And right now with these guys side-by-side, they can't really build up any momentum to try to catch anybody in front of them either. So definitely some great battling going on here. Meanwhile, Chris O'Berge has got to a big lead and just enjoying this battle going on behind, with Alan Capers running some tough laps in tow.
Yeah, his lead about a 2nd right now, and that's the biggest lead we've seen all day. Really, the only lead we've seen all day. We've had a lot of caution laps here and no opportunity to make leads happen, but battle for the 3rd position. Kyle Zimmer and Kevin Paskovich going at it. Looks like Kevin Paskovich able to hold off Zimmer for the time being off of turn number 1, but that number 25, we know he's hungry. He's in tow right behind that 25. Actually pulled up right to the spoiler that he's going to have to be careful into turn number 2. We talked about how it is difficult to see that, but he backs up early. It's like he might be able to get the run into turn number 3. Yes, he does. He's going to pull to the inside of Pascovich and try to outbrake him into this very flat, wide corner. But we know that outside line through 3 does work. But I think that Kyle Zimmer probably has the momentum right now, and yes, he does. Makes the move off of turn number 3 pretty easily. He's going to have to break the draft from Pascovich, pulls right down to the inside line, and Pascovich trying to use a bit of side draft himself to try to slow down that 25. So good racing here at Pocono. Kind of something we talked about happening in the pre-race, but look at that outside line. Pascovich using it to his advantage. He's going to be able to pull in front of Zimmer for the time being, but it gets tight off of turn number 1, and that's going to give Zimmer the sole possession of the 3rd place right now.
Fantastic battling for place between Pascovich and Zimmer, both showing that they both have really strong cars, and it might honestly be in Pascovich's best interest to just say, hey, you go ahead, I'll follow you, and let's go try to get the leaders, because both of those guys have fresher tires, and same with Capers. Capers came down on that last pit stop, got fresher tires, and Capers is using those tires to his advantage and reeling in Roberge up here, and Pascovich and Zimmer should think, hey, let's get together and let's try to go do what Capers did and go up into this battle, because they both know they have fast cars. They just have to get the track position.
And we have a battle for the lead heating up. Actually, Alan Capers has Chris Roberge, and I looked at the interval off of turn number 3, and even with Roberge breaking the draft, I think that has actually slowed him down a little bit, because that number 13 had such a good run off of 3 last time. He's actually going to look on the outside off turn number 1 for the lead. So battle for the lead here at Pocono with 10 laps to go. Alan Capers nosing ahead of Roberge for the time being. We'll see if he can make the move into 2. Yes, he drives it in. Hopefully he doesn't get tight and get in the wall, but I think he's actually going to hold it off at turn number 2. So good move for him. That number 13, very strong.
Yeah, we talked to Alan Capes under one of the cautions, and could definitely tell in his voice that he felt really good here and had a strong car, and he's definitely flexing his muscle here by driving up from later back in the field and making up that, over a 1 second gap he made up in the course of 2 laps here.
And we'll look at laps real quick. Kyle Zimmer, 55.841. Chris Roberge, 57.002. And a 56.4 for Alan Capers. So currently the fastest truck on the racetrack is Kyle Zimmer in 3rd place right now. So definitely going to be looking to try to get himself back up to the lead, where he was for the majority of the early part of this race. Had some trouble, but has been able to kind of gain some of that track position back under green flag, and I think the number 25 going to be a factor here before the end of the race. He definitely is the fastest truck on track. See the 49 of Roberge getting a little bit tight out of turn number 2. He's going to lose a bit of ground to the 13 in front of him, and might be under fire from Kyle Zimmer here very shortly.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Kyle Zimmer definitely the fastest truck on track right now, and made up a lot of ground so far. And Capers and Zimmer both have fresh tires, and Zimmer's going to want to get around Roberge a little bit sooner rather than later, so that way he's not stuck behind Roberge. Is definitely showing that this 3rd and 4th place drivers both have a lot of speed. Their trucks just got to get it going and got to get it moving to hopefully catch up to Capers, who's kind of, like I said, flexing his muscle, driving away a little bit. And only 8 to go here. It's kind of go time, even though there could be a possibility of green-white checkers later.
Number 49 actually got loose, or tight in turn number 1. He's just sideways out of turn number 2. Contact from the 27 of Pascovich, and Chris Roberge has spun out. I was actually going to say he got tight through 1 and lost position to Kyle Zimmer, but that's not going to matter now because that truck is sideways. We have another caution here on the racetrack, and we'll see what happened on the replay. Just a bit of the line a little bit wrong through turn number 2, and we've seen that before in this race. And just when you got a truck behind you that gets a little bit better than you, sometimes they just can't get out of it fast enough, and just unfortunately some contact there. 49 getting turned around.
Yeah, it looks like the 27 had a great corner, but it also looked like the 49 had already hit the apron and got loose again like he did earlier before the 27 even got there. So a little bit of both ends of the world coming together there to cause that incident, but seemed like it was a relatively solo incident. Obviously got turned a little bit, but the 49's the only one who really walked away with any damage there, so he'll be able to get a fast repair and get back out on track, and we'll be able to have a little bit more green flag racing here towards the end. It's a pretty decent green flag stint there.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, our first, what I would say, green run of the day. So it's good to see that we got that closer to the end of this race. And I have to imagine that probably all these drivers are going to come down pit road. But I'm also wondering if Alan Capers decides to come down pit road, if maybe the rest of the field just kind of does the opposite, because we definitely have seen that before. But I think we're at the threshold of where if you don't come down pit road and others do, I think you're going to be kind of a sit and duck at this point. So I'm kind of expecting most of the field or all of the field to come down pit road, get full fresh tires, and then race it out to the end.
I'm also expecting the field to come down pit road, namely because look at the guys who took tires on that last stop. Even on a small, 3-lap run, they had taken tires and they were able to kind of just drive right by Roberge. It was those guys up front that took the tire. So I would expect, yeah, as you can see, all these guys coming in. Over the course of that last run, theirs had already dropped off by over a second between their first and their last lap of that run. So definitely these guys wanting to come in and get 4 fresh tires and hopefully get some nice, good battling here towards the end. This pit stop could determine a lot, as track position can mean a lot here.
Absolutely, and I'm also thinking to myself for that number 27, we saw him saving so much
Roberge
fuel early
slightly
on this
overdrove
race.
his.
Oh yeah, that's not good for the 13. That's definitely, you don't want to have that issue at this point in the race with only 6 laps to go. So I think
We have some 2 tire stops. Sorry to interject, but a couple guys look like they might have taken 2 tires there.
Yeah, definitely don't want to mention, I think, Matos as well. So I think our first driver on 4 fresh tires is going to be that number 25 of Kyle Zimmer. And this is going to be a very interesting restart, AJ, because of that. And, we haven't seen anybody take 2 tires with this amount of laps on the left sides yet. So it's going to be probably an unknown for everyone.
Yeah, and I don't mean to change the subject, but Alan Capers had missed pit road, or missed his box, reversed back into the box, and he is currently still sitting on pit road. Don't know what's going on with that, but he went from the lead. Now he's sitting on pit road for who knows what. But his night just turned really bad, but he has a very fast truck. As we've seen, he's driven back through the back, but as he's pulling out now.
It's a very interesting development there. I'm not sure what happened either, but definitely in the blink of an eye goes from the lead back to definitely about last place. So not what he wanted to see, but maybe he had to go up and use the restroom or something. We have probably all had that issue in sim racing or whatever, but probably not the time you want to go out and lose track position for that. But looks like the 4 of Nate Cadilla electing to stay out for the time being. I'm not sure if he's going to come down pit road next time or what, but definitely is your current leader. So, we have 1 truck to stay out. We have 2 that took 2 tires, and then the rest on 4. So this is looking to be one heck of a restart here with probably about 3 laps to go.
Yeah, this is going to be one real interesting restart with a couple different tire strategies, especially after having such a long green flag stint there. The 4 is going to have some really old tires, and personally, I don't think this is going to work out, but you never know if this thing continues to be a caution right into turn 1. The 4 might be able to hold on to the lead each time a caution comes out. We'll see what ends up happening here. It'll be really interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how these 2 tires work out this time as well. As the last time when Roberge did it, he had only had about 2-3 laps, and these guys had 7 laps. So we'll see how these left side tires hold up after that long run.
And real quick before we get the pace car lights off and go green once again, I want to give shout outs to some more of our chatters in the chat. GOM1600 saying let's go Kyle Zimmer. Grassroots Sim Racing AC13, let's go honey. So that is Alan Capers' wife cheering him on. Good to see that. Travis Zidma, Zulu Motorsports in the house. I know that you're probably happy to see that one, AJ. Max Aldrich and Senpai Art saying ooh, so I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but hope y'all are enjoying the show. And we definitely are up here in the booth, and I think it's going to get even better with this last restart, or potentially last restart. I would probably, if I was a bet man, I'd say that we might have a green light checker, but I don't want to say things preemptively because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you never want to say things preemptively, and we tend to carry the commentator's curse. Even as a part-time commentator, I've already been a culprit of that myself. So we don't want to jinx anything. We don't want to jump anything too much. We'd love to see some green flag, but the way this has gone, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, especially with all these different tire strategies going on. And it'll be interesting as well to see if there's a huge difference between Kyle Zimmer, Kevin Paskowicz, 4-tire people versus the 2 tires of Matos and Minch, let alone the no tires of Attila.
And I'm looking at the 4 right now, and in addition to having the oldest tires of everyone right now, he has a bit of right side damage on that truck as well, so probably not performing up to 100%. It's not a lot, so probably not going to hurt him too much in the grand scheme of things. Definitely not more than having older tires would, but just something to note, that right rear fender a little bit not looking like it should, so we'll have to see if that is an issue on this restart. But I'm I'm really excited to see what goes down once we get into turn number 1.
Yeah, with all these different tire strategies, I don't think they've run long enough to worry about wheel spin, but it could be interesting. Some of these guys might not get as much launch grip as they're expecting, and could be really interesting, especially with some of these guys towards the back to get a little bit of a jump to hopefully improve their position. You definitely don't want to be lagging, especially at a place like this. So it'll be real interesting to see. Might have a little bit of dominoes, might have a little bit of munch up, might just have a fantastic 4-wide battle. Who knows?
Absolutely, and it is all going to come down to probably this last restart. Even if we get a green-white checker, this last restart is probably going to determine who can battle for the win in that green-white checker, if we get one, or whatever. But definitely it's going to be something to watch. So coming down to the later stage of this race, going to have 3 laps to go, 7.5 miles around the Pocono Raceway. Definitely a lot of racing here. Base car off, field in the hands of Nate Catilla on 0 tires, and we are green here for what might be the last restart of the race, what might not be. We'll have to wait and see, but before gets a fantastic restart, pulls ahead of the 0-1 of Minch already. We'll see if he can draft himself around Catilla into turn number 1, but I think Catilla's going to do a bit of blocking here. We'll see almost some contact between Minch and Fernando Matos, but Catilla gets bumped from behind from the 0-1, and the 17 around as well actually was able to save it, but wow.
Yeah, I think this is just a case of what we talked about, where Cotilla's got 7-lap-old tires, and a track like Pocono, that could mean that right front is a little bit beat up even on 7 lap. So I think he just had a lot less corner speed than Mitch was expecting, and just caused him to get into the back of him. But luckily, didn't seem to affect too much of the other races. But
yeah, and I think a bit of that was as well because the 4 took a very defensive line into turn number 1, so he didn't have the best angle, and Minch kind of had a better one and just had a lot more corner speed, like you said, and unfortunately resulting in some contact. Definitely nothing intentional, trying to bump him out of the way or anything, but just one of those things that tends to happen near the end of a race, especially one where probably all these drivers are restless and want to get it over with right now.
yeah, these drivers are restless. This is Minch's first race back, so he's definitely probably a little bit antsy and wanting to get towards the front and hold the front. But he's got a little bit of front end damage, and at a place like this, that could end up hurting him. And so we'll see how he gets going with Matos, who had 2 tires, and then Zimmer and Paskowicz right behind them, who each had 4. So this restart could prove to be even more interesting than the last.
Absolutely, and I think that you think we can probably dial up Eric Minch real quick, get a word with him before we get back going green. See if we can find him up here in the channel real quick. And there he is. Eric Minch is coming right up in the booth. You got a copy? All right, well, I guess we're not going to be able to get a word with him. It looks like he's pulled himself off and taken his car to the garage, so I'm not sure what happened there, but either way, that puts the 17 of Fernando Matos in the lead. Wait, no, that puts, wait, no, does that put the 25 in the lead? Yeah, it's Matos in the lead, so if I wasn't confused already, I'm a little bit more confused right now.
Very, like you said, confusing. At first I was gonna joke that it was a disconnect from internet and that it was commentator's curse, but I don't. Yeah, he ended up manually taking his car to the garage and got out of this race, and I don't know if that's a part of maybe he was not happy, maybe frustrated with how he back of Cotillo. Maybe didn't feel like he deserved to be up front. Who knows? But it also is his first race, so maybe gone on a little bit longer than he had hoped and liked. But definitely very interesting, and at the very least, like I had mentioned earlier, the show must go on. And here we have Fernando Matos, who just is going to inherit the lead as it falls into his lap, and he can't be very upset about that. And definitely has a clean truck. Haven't talked much about him all night. He's been hanging out around 5th place all night, but here he is with the lead. And as long as he gets to the white flag in the lead, anything could happen, and he could win this race.
Absolutely, and I have to say that no bias here. I do love the number on that truck, and I love the truck itself. That's the old NASCAR Racing default scheme from, I believe, NASCAR Racing 1, all the way back in 1996, I want to say. So, nice little old school nostalgia right there from back in the time when I was a little bit of a toddler and things were a little bit simpler. So, that truck is pretty cool looking to me. I do remember seeing that when I was before I knew how to race, even though I still don't know how to race, but. Really cool to see that truck, and definitely putting on a good show right now, up in the lead. So definitely going to look for his first truck win of the season. He's been able to notch a win in the K&N side of things. Not able to notch a truck win yet, but definitely in the best position to do so at this point. Pace car lights are off, so we're going to be going green here in just about a minute. See,
as Alan Capers connects another cone.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you see Alan Capers take away another cone's life, so one of these days we'll have a counter here on 3YTV, but not yet. We're going to go ahead and focus on the action at hand, though. So, as the driver yourself, AJ, you know that we are doing a green-white checkered at this point, and we do have a possibility to go up to 3. So, kind of, what are you thinking as a driver at this point? Maybe if you're Kyle Zimmer, Kevin Pasquich, a little bit further on back in the pack, are you kind of going through different strategies in your head to try to get to that lead, or maybe escape plans if something happens in front of you?
Yeah, you almost run through different scenarios of what could happen. And for instance, when you're Kyle Zimmer on the outside, you want to have a good restart. You want to be able to see Matos and be able to get a good jump and hopefully hold on to the outside, knowing that he has 2 tires to try to maybe pin him down a little bit. Meanwhile, if you're Pasquich, you want to be up close behind Matos where he's not going to be able to pull away once the green flag drops, but you're also going to maybe want to try to lag a little bit and carry a little bit extra speed and maybe be able to, once you cross the start-finish line, hopefully get down into the corner. But all these drivers know that once that white flag comes out, the next flag ends the race. So it's going to be a mad dash to try to get to the white flag, and we're only going to have 3 attempts at this. And it is going to be fun, that is for sure, especially with 2 tires here up at the front.
Absolutely, but we're coming through turn 3 right now. That pace car is off the track, or it's pulling off the track right now. It was a bit of a backed up restart for Matos, but green flag out once again. This might be the last restart of the race. We'll have to wait and see, but a good start for Kyle Zimmer on the outside line. He's actually nosing ahead of that 17 at the time being. Here comes Kevin Pasquich on the inside, 3 wide into turn number 1 for the race win. We'll see if he can make the move around Matos and maybe take the fight to that number 25 of Zimmer. Some contact almost, but looks like they got out of it pretty cleanly. Close between Billy Wise and Matos, but 17 on Matos around. Well, just like that, once again, we're going to be under green-white checker for our second attempt.
It appeared on first that there was no contact. Matos just got loose, and it could be a culprit of trying to oversteer it while only having fresh right side tires. Is after that 7-8 lap run, those, like I'd said, on the longer run, that left side might not be as good as it was for Auberge early on, and I think it could have been a partial culprit here. As sadly is going to knock his chances pretty low, but with another 2 green-white checkers, he could have another chance to get back up. And the most disappointing part is for the guys that got collected in that.
Yeah, I see the 66 of Brian Lowhead. We're on board with him right now. Actually blew the motor after that, so he's going to have to tow back to the pit lane and going to take several minutes right there. So unfortunate for that. He's definitely going to be well out of the running for this race. And I think Matos was able to keep his truck going under power, so he's going to just have to come back and take a fast car if he has one left. You see that one of Thomas Wise and Alan Capers involved as well. So for Alan Capers, it went from very good to very bad pretty quickly. He was in the lead just a few cautions ago, and some bad luck befalling him later on in this race. But really, AJ, what I think is kind of interesting is at the beginning of this race, we saw really, I think it was Zimmer, Paskowicz, and Roberge be our quickest 3 trucks, and then middle part of the race, we saw some other players come into the scene. But I think we are seeing those 3 trucks come back to the front at the end of the race.
Yeah, between different pit stop strategies with different people getting involved in different wrecks, we definitely saw some shuffling of the leaders over the course of this race. But these front 3 were, in fact, 1, 3, 4 in qualifying, with Billy Wise being second in qualifying. So definitely some of the faster trucks here getting back up to the front. As you had mentioned earlier, Tom Johnson seemed to be one of the only ones to have a cleaner race and not really get involved in this, and he's taken that up to be sitting in 4th place right now.
Yeah, and definitely kind of doing the old school approach of just letting everybody else wreck around you and just kind of see where you get. But we're on board with Capers right now, and you see this some significant damage on that truck. Looks like he's going to be out of the running, definitely 1 lap down at least. So his day pretty much over for the time being, at least as far as the battle for the win goes. See Thomas Wise and Renato Matos coming down pit road as well, underpowered to get their trucks fixed up and get some tires on them to get to the end of this race. But definitely it has been a messy one here at Pocono. We've seen a lot of cautions, a lot of contact, a lot of spins, and just a lot of action all around. And I think all of these drivers are probably going to be wanting to get out of Pocono as quickly as possible. Probably get on the plane to next week's race at Texas.
Yeah, this Pocono race is probably going to be one that some of these drivers are going to be looking past. I don't know if it will make them feel better, but Wednesday in the B Car Series is at a road course, so there won't be any cautions. So they won't have to worry about pace laps on Wednesday, but they will have to worry about the road course treachery that can await them. But as we focus on what's going on up here, we have a couple fasters here at the front, and it appeared when Capers went into pit road that he might have been out of faster pairs, and that's why he's sitting there damaged. And you wonder not only who in the field has faster pairs left or how many, but if there's a caution here and nobody has faster pairs left, it's going to be who's left. And if something crazy were to happen, some guys that we haven't talked about all day that we don't expect to win kept their car clean, like Tom Johnson, could end up away with this thing if something goes crazy.
Absolutely, and we saw him take the win at Kansas on a fuel strategy race. Took the lead out of turn number 4 in the last lap of the race and was able to notch that win. So he might be the king of the crazy races at this point. We'll have to wait and see. Pace car lights are off, so we're going to try it once again here. One more restart for a green-white checkered and see if we can actually, the pace car lights are back on? Am I seeing that right? Yes, they are, so I might be just seeing things at this point. I forgot that we have lap down trucks again, so I'm going to have one more lap of caution than normal. So my mistake there. I was a little bit antsy myself to try to get this race getting going and see what happens here for this second attempt at a green-white checker.
I do not want to make any guesses, but I do know that some drivers, if they pit later on in the race, don't fill the car up all the way thinking, I want the truck to be as light as I can, especially on a track like this where having 10 gallons less of fuel and being lighter on the back end can equate to some speed on the long straightaways. And you wonder if some of these drivers could have possibly short filled and could be struggling for fuel, or if all of these guys took fuel. I think everybody's probably okay. I don't hear anybody saving as I'm going through the field, but it's a possibility that something could happen where if this goes on to another green-white checkered, you could see somebody having to pit for fuel or trying to hardcore save to make it.
Yeah, that's something I've always kind of thought about too. Really, I'm not sure if it's actually modeled very well in iRacing, but having some fuel in the back of that truck or car or whatever, definitely going to move the rear end down a little bit, and theoretically, it should give you some extra speed as well as maybe loosen up these normally tight, thick setups. So having some extra weight in that back, I know that does actually work. Having some extra fuel will loosen up a setup, but definitely something to think about, especially on this type of racetrack. But I think we're going to get the one to go this time by. Definitely we will once the pace car crosses the start finish line. We'll double up for one more attempt at a green white checkered, and yes, we are. So there we go.
And this one to grow, I don't know if he's doing it for fun or if he's doing it to save fuel, but Kevin Paskowicz is dropping the clutch again as he has been for most of this race, and it could be just something for fun to keep him busy and not bored on these long laps, but it could also be something just to save fuel because he could have tried to short fill, not expecting all this green white checkered.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. I've always kind of operated under the impression that under every yellow, no matter what, even if I'm very good to the end, just save as much fuel as possible just in case, and just keep that rear end a little bit heavier to get the rear end or get the truck turned a little bit better than it would be normally. So maybe he's just trying to think of that, maybe trying to see if he can get that truck rotated a little bit in turn number one. He is going to be on the outside line into turn number one, and you want all the rotation you can get to try to make the move off of that corner down into turn number two. So probably just thinking to himself, keep as much weight in the rear as you can, and maybe it'll turn a little bit better for him, but we'll definitely have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, and as we had mentioned, lights are out on this car. We're going to go green this time by, and it's going to be an interesting start with for the top five. We're for the top five in qualifying, so we'll see how this ends up turning out in the end, but definitely going to be a barn burner.
Quick reset of the top five for you guys real quick. Kyle Zimmer, your leader. Kevin Paskowicz second. Chris Roberge in third. Tom Johnson fourth. And Billy Wise fifth. We'll go through 10th real quick. Catilla sixth. Berardi seventh. Wise eighth. Matos ninth. And Alan Capers has retired his car. He is in the 10th position. But pace car is off. Green flag out once again. Good start for everybody. Looks like good start for that 27. He's actually going to nose ahead of Kyle Zimmer into turn number one. We'll see if he can make the move stick. And it was a very good restart for Paskowicz. I think he's actually going to be able to clear the 25 into turn number one. Yes, he is. Look at that gap already. So a very good restart for that number 27 for the time being, but very close between him and Zimmer through 1 and 2. We have a caution on the racetrack once again. Looks like somebody got turned around in turn number one there. Not sure who it was. 99 of Johnny Berardi. So we're going to have one more attempt at the green white checkered. See what happened here on the replay. It looks like just some contact from behind, maybe between the 17 and the 99. Yes, and actually involved Thomas Wise as well. So that was a 3-for-1 right there in turn number one, and we saw the end result of it. But definitely gonna be looking to get this race finished here in just a moment once we get back on green for our final green white checkered.
Yeah, just too many trucks trying to occupy the same amount of space, and never gonna end well. And very unlucky, and Kevin Paskowicz is probably up at the front, not very happy because he had a great start to be able to take that lead and was looking like he might be able to drive away with it at least to get to the white flag, and then this caution came out. So we'll see what happens here. Is there hasn't really been much green flag laps, but with the number of people on the lead lap thinning out, we could see people take theirs, but I highly doubt it. I'd expect everybody to stay out here. But, hey, you never know.
I'm thinking, I think definitely Paskowicz, Zimmer, Roberge, they're probably all going to stay out. But if you're a bit further on back in the pack, maybe like Matos or Catilla, maybe Billy Wise, I think, if there's only 9 trucks in the lead lap right now. If you're running about 7th or 6th, I think you might as well come down and take tires and see if you might be able to do something with that, at this point in the race. Because this is going to be your last green white checkered, and this is your last opportunity to make something happen.
Yeah, we could end up seeing, like you said, some of those guys middle back of the pack because why not? You know what I mean? Like maybe take tires, maybe go for it, especially knowing that some of those guys that are behind you, like the ninth place car of Berardi and Thomas Wise were both involved in that incident, so they might try to come down and get that truck fixed anyway. So you might end up restarting about exactly where you were before. But I guess we'll see here, and some of these guys might be needing fuel, like I said, as well. And looks like they tried to fake the leaders. Neither of them got it to work. Pascowicz unfazed.
Pascowicz having none of that. He never even looked. He was planning on coming down pit road, so he already had his strategy set in mind once that caution came out, and not going to deviate from it as well. I don't think actually anyone come down pit road. I'm going to have to look and see. We have just some of the trucks that were involved in that last caution. Thomas Wise, Nate Catilla on pit road as well. Nate Catilla actually wasn't involved, but he was one of those trucks that I was talking about a bit further on near the end of the lead lap, and probably just going to come down and see if his truck is actually damaged a little bit. Actually, yes, it is. So probably out of fast pairs for Catilla. So I don't think even if we get some tires on the truck, he's going to be in the hunt for the win. But you never know. I have a 10-car wreck or something like that. You never know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Definitely have seen it before at Pocono, having some contact in turn number one and just takes out the whole field, and something like that could always happen here in racing. And I'm a big Formula One fan myself, and Murray Walker used to say something that kind of epitomizes racing all around. It says anything can happen, and it usually does.
Yeah, he was definitely right about that, because like we had said, Pascowicz at about 22 to go was probably like, hey, I'm going to be the only one to make it on fuel. This is going to be great. I'm going to go win. And then more cautions, and then he got involved and had to be at the back, and now here he is at the front with where the next flag after the green is going to end this race. And so he's really going to be hoping to get a good jump and hopefully be able to lead this thing going into one, because at this point you're going to need that nose in case that caution comes out. But me, not a huge Formula One guy, but did a little bit off topic. I did watch that German Grand Prix this last weekend, and wow, what a wet and wild race that was.
Yeah, almost like this one, pretty wild all throughout, and minus the rain. But a bunch of similarities from that race to this one. I actually watched it. I watched the replay of it after the fact, and like you said, it was a wild one. Definitely, actually, the last three or so have been pretty good. So good to see that, and good to see Mercedes finally get beat a few times.
Yeah, the wall ended up being the first one to beat Mercedes this last.
And it's funny. We're still a bit off topic here, but they had a crew down there with Mercedes this weekend because it was their anniversary or something, which is why they ran the special paint schemes. But they had a crew, like a documentary crew, and it's funny they had such a terrible race for that one. Their home race, and to have the documentary crew that be there for it to be such a bad race for Mercedes is I have to think it's pretty funny.
And on the other side of the pond, still off topic, I was at Mid-Ohio for the IndyCar race, and that ended up being the closest IndyCar finish at Mid-Ohio history at 900ths of a second at the road course there. So Scott Dixon was able to pull away with that one, and our SimPossible comparison of Scott Dixon that I've given is Kyle Zimmer. He's just always around, doesn't win every single race, but he's always right there, it seems like. And Kyle Zimmer, here he is in second place up at the front row, always there. You never know what can happen. So definitely anything can happen here. And as I had mentioned before, I mean, Tom Johnson is sitting in a place where if there is a big last wreck starting at the front and he can dodge it, he could walk away at very least with a podium. He might even be able to straight up pass some of these guys for it too.
Absolutely, and I'm a big IndyCar fan myself. I went to a race earlier this year, and actually saw Colton Herta get the win at COTA. So I love IndyCar, the series, and it's probably my favorite racing series around now. So that was a good race at Mid-Ohio. Definitely an awesome finish between Dixon and Rosenquist. But speaking of awesome finishes, pace car lights are off, so we're going to see one of those here in just about a minute's time. Either a caution or a green flag finish here to end this race, which has gone a little bit longer than expected, but either way, doesn't matter here because we are going to, because it has been a pretty good race all around once when we've been under green, just been a bit of a caution-filled race, and it tends to happen from now and again. Not to take away from any of these drivers or anything, it just is one of those things that happens in racing. Sometimes you can't help it, and it's just like I said, one of those things.
Yeah, not to take away from any of the drivers, but it can especially be frustrating for some of these guys who are up at the front, especially on these last few cautions where all of them are happening late in the pack, and you're starting to get some good racing up front. You're starting to get going, and then all of a sudden there's a caution, and there's really nothing that you can do about it, nothing that you were involved in. And so regardless, these guys are going to hope to at least get a little bit of green flag, hopefully finish under green. But regardless, I said regardless a lot. Going great, but these guys are really going to hope for green flag laps, side-by-side finish, which could totally be possible as at this type of track with this kind of draft. I could see these guys side-by-side through 3.
What a crazy finish that would be if we had like a 3-wide photo finish or whatever, but we'll see what happens here in just a moment of time. Pace car getting ready to pull off. There it goes. Green flag out once again for our final restart of the race. Kevin Pascowicz gets a very good restart. He was able to out-drag that 25 into turn number 1. He got a bit of a better restart than Kyle Zimmer did, but here comes Tom Johnson. He's right there in third place right now on the outside line. Might be able to clear that 49 into turn number 1. We'll see if that can happen, but through turn number 1, Kevin Pascowicz, sole possession of the lead, not under fire from Zimmer just yet, but here comes Zimmer on the outside line out of turn number 1. See if he can get the drag into turn number 2, some contact back in the pack. I see the 32 sideways, the 49 sideways. Billy Wise is, and there's the caution once again for Fernando Matos side or smoking. I think Kevin Pascowicz was the leader at the time of the caution, so if that was the case, then he is going to be your race winner.
I believe Pascowicz had a slight nose on Kyle Zimmer to walk away with this win, but unfortunate back in the pack. Couldn't really tell what happened on first look.
Yeah, we'll see what happened here on the replay. Looks like just some contact further on in the pack. It looked like the 49 of Zimmer, or not, excuse me, 49 of Roberge got in the wall, and it just kind of escalated from there, but we'll see the margin of victory right here for Kevin Pascowicz. Just about half a fender there into turn number 2. And, you got to think Kyle Zimmer probably kicking himself right now because he knows that he had a good shot to win that and really didn't have a chance to do anything about it with the caution coming out. But either way, a good win for Kevin Pascowicz. He was one of the fastest trucks here tonight and was able to get himself in position when it counted and hold everyone else off.
Yeah, we had seen the whole night Pascowicz was adapting his strategies to what was going on, whether it was fuel saving, trying to make it to the end, or whether it was just trying to get out front, knowing that cautions might be coming up. And he was able to get his truck out front there at the end and just hold on enough to walk away with the win. And while it's not the way that you want to win, it's a win nonetheless. There is no asterisk in the record books. It is going to be a win for Kevin Pascowicz, and it's also going to be a top 3 finish. Tom Johnson rounds out that 3rd place on the podium. As I had mentioned, he was able to make a pass and get by Chris Roberge there on that last restart. You can see on your screen here, it looks like Fernando Matos, the 17, had blown an engine, possibly from some damage on the front of that car, and Nate Catilla being a great sport and pushing Matos around to get finish line. And that's something that you see a lot here in the SimPossible series is somebody blows an engine, especially under caution, and you can do something about it without losing too much time and giving up too much. Then these guys, we all definitely help each other out, and I feel like a lot of the times you see these guys pushing each other.
And the bad side of that, you see right there, actually turned him around. So that's something you just, that's kind of the danger of pushing someone without an engine. You can turn them around, and that's going to be the end of the night for Matos right there. Nothing that Catilla did wrong, just it can kind of happen. And, Catilla was being a good sport about it, just trying to push him across the line. But actually, Fernando Matos probably trying to coast across the line and get that one extra lap in. See right there, Ricky Bobby style, just trying to get across the line. He's going to actually make it. Or, yes, he is. Turning his truck sideways. So we'll go ahead and let these drivers get cooled off for just a moment. We're going to have interviews for you in about 5 seconds time. No break for us because we're going to try to get this over and done with. Actually, we'll see if we can get Tom Johnson up here in the booth. He's pulling his truck down into the pit road right now. And I believe that AJ Digby has caught up with him.
Tom Johnson, this is AJ Digby. You got.
I'm here.
Well, it was a very action-packed race, and it seemed like you were able to dodge it and keep your truck clean for most of the night, especially compared to the rest of the field. And just tell us about your race.
Well, I was trying to, at first I was thinking fuel strategy, but once we had 25 left and we had a yellow there, then blew that off the wall, so. And then after that, then I was just trying to stay up front. I went towards the end there just to get a better finish, you know.
Yeah, you definitely had some good position towards the late stages of that race, and we were mentioning if something happened that you were right there able to pounce. And on that last restart, what was going through your mind?
Well, I was looking, I wanted to get a top 3, you know, but Chris is pretty good, and so is Billy, but I was able to hold them off. Chris slid up there, you know, so it was fun, though.
Yeah, you had a great restart on the outside to take away that 3rd place, and you walk away as the 3rd place podium finisher. Anybody to thank for this?
Well, just big shout out to Jeff and SimAbility. It's really awesome that he does this, so.
Well, awesome. Congratulations on the podium finish tonight, Tom Johnson. Enjoy that 3rd place day.
All right, thanks.
And Cameron Rich will have our 2nd place finisher, Kyle Zimmer.
Yeah, I got him right here, Kyle. Probably not the night that you or anyone else was thinking about, but you were able to come home with a 2nd place. Just kind of take us through the entire night in your own eyes.
Yeah. Definitely not the way the race I wanted, but yeah, we definitely had a lot of short runs. Track position was definitely a key. Getting up very short at the end of the race there, and I thought I may have maybe do for the win, but never there. But caution came. I take you for a second tonight.
Yeah, how did the track feel for you? We heard some people say it was tight, some say it was loose, a lot say it was slick, a lot say it wasn't. So just, you know, how did it feel from your point of view?
It was definitely depends. I mean, sometimes it can be loose, it can be tight, and depends how you entering in corners and X and out. I think turn 1 in and we was a little loose and later on here, but turn 2 was definitely tight if you don't entering in corners correctly, or if you hit the bump in turn 2, you can definitely put your truck in, wreck your car or get out. I think we have seen that a lot tonight there.
Absolutely. Well, pretty good cementation of your points lead, but in 2 weeks' time, we go to the Texas Motor Speedway. A bit of a different racetrack than this one, but only 2 events left in this series. How are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, and definitely should gotta have a good finish next 2 most series. And Texas is definitely one of my favorite tracks. I've been so close when we have that track, and hopefully can after being so glad. We have raced there and both Xfinity and Truck Series. Definitely looking forward.
All right, man. Well, you're looking pretty good for a 2nd Truck Series championship. Not gonna say anything just yet because we do have, like we said, 2 more events to go. But before we let you go, do you got any shout-outs for us real quick?
Yeah, I'd definitely like to shout out to you guys, Green Wine TV, for broadcasting out, and want to thank Jeff for great out there. This would be insane and great community race with. I want to thank my team for test racing and forward and so close once again. And definitely looking forward to next week.
All right, Kyle. Well, thank you very much for talking with us. Congrats on your second place finish, and definitely talk to you again in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Okay, that was your second place finisher, Zimmer, and I think AJ has caught up with our winner, Kevin Paskowicz.
Kevin Paskowicz, you got a copy?
Yeah, we got you guys.
Well, you walked away from tonight as the winner. Had a lot of different strategies that constantly were changing over the course of the night. Try to give us a little bit of a recap of your race.
Well, the big strategy was planning on, considering we've had so many races recently that have run pretty decently low caution here, I wasn't planning on very many. So the plan was to actually just make it a 2-stop race and go from there. But of course, cautions and incidents, threw a wrench in that. So then it just came, wait until we get just enough gas for a green-white checker and go from there and see where the chips may fall. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun out there tonight. The truck's really hard to handle. For me, it might just be the way I have my driver settings, but for me it got really loose. So I know everyone else it was getting really, especially on corner exit. For me it was loose. So it was interesting. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you definitely looked good out. Even when you were towards the back, you were able to surge towards the front really fast. I did notice a lot of the time under caution you were saving fuel. Were you cutting it close there with all the green-white checkers at the end?
I ended up with a little bit more than I thought. But yeah, I think I finished with about 2 gallons in the tank, 1.5 gallons, somewhere in there. So I got it not quite as close as I thought I was going, but hey, I'll take a little bit extra to go do a burnout with.
Awesome. And next on the schedule for you guys is Texas in 2 weeks time now. And how do you feel about Texas coming up?
Might be sick that week, I'm not sure. Texas is a fun track. It's really tricky and it's got its own charm. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited about it.
Well, you walk away from tonight as the race winner. You got any shout-outs?
Just as always, my teammates at Phenomenal. And of course, PH Aware, Palmetto Distilleries, the PH Human Project for everything that they do to raise awareness for pulmonary hypertension, patients with pulmonary hypertension. And special shout out to my dad tonight, actually. This is the first race I've won carrying his old number on it. So number 27, I think it's going to be around, it's going to be here to stay for a while. And thanks to him, everything he does and all that. I think he's on the road right now. I think he's in Iowa. But and of course my wife Karen and the rest of my family for putting up with me. But and you guys, of course, for doing it. Jeff for doing it, and the guys in the league. This is one of the best groups of guys I've raced with in terms of personalities and how everyone acts and interacts with others. So really want to thank Jeff for that, and, for encouraging it and doing it, and all the guys for doing it, and of course you guys for broadcasting it.
Well, thank you for all the time words. Definitely got a good life if you got a lot of people to thank. So I did notice the number change, and I was wondering the reason, and always a good reason to for your dad. So great race tonight. Way to walk away with the victory and be a winner, and you'll be a winner the rest of your night.
All right, thank you guys. I got the one Paskey's race is also at Pocono coming up, starting here in about 10 minutes.
We'll go in that one.
I'll see what I can do. Thank you guys.
Problem. That was your winner tonight, Kevin Paskowicz, 27 car.
And we'll get your results here pretty shortly. If Brad or the producer can go ahead and throw those up on the screen. Kevin Paskowicz coming home with the win. Kyle Zimmer second. Tom Johnson, a very good result for him, rounding out the podium. Chris Verberge led a lot of laps here tonight. Probably not the result he wanted, but a good fourth place nonetheless. Nick Cadilla, we saw him Well, a few issues for him coming home with 5th. Johnny Berardi, very good run for him in the 6th position. Billy Wise coming home in 7th, started in 2nd, so probably was hoping for a little bit more. Fernando Matos, we saw him getting pushed across the line, actually backwards, but coming home in the 8th position, last car on the lead lap. Thomas Wise in 9th, and Alan Capers rounding out your top 10. Your last 2 finishers tonight, Brian Lowhead and Eric Minch. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for you guys tonight. Bit of a messy one here from Pocono, but that tends to happen every now and again. But we're going to go ahead and give a couple shout outs of our own. First, I want to give a personal thanks to all of you guys that come out and watch the broadcast, whether you watch the live or the replays. You know, of course, from us as a broadcasting team on YouTube, you are what make us go round and round. And of course, everybody that chats with us in the races, we love that you guys come out to hang out with us. And of course, we try to get you guys involved as much as possible. I want to thank SimTV for the cameras that allow us to show you these angles each and every week, and Thomas Morris for these graphics that are very, very pretty and really spice up the broadcast. But AJ, that was a very wild one from Pocono. What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, definitely a very wild one. One that drivers are going to be ready to look past, and I know that some of these guys are going to be ready to look forward to next couple weeks. As like Paskowitz had said, the last few weeks for us have been relatively clean and green flag filled. So hopefully this is one and done. Get the cautions out of the way on this week, and next few weeks live long and prosper.
Yeah, and speaking of that, we do have racing for you guys on Wednesday from, I believe, Mid-Ohio, is it? Should be.
Watkins
Glen,
Ohio,
right.
I believe, is next after that.
All right, we got some road course racing for you coming up on Wednesday with the cars at Watkins Glen. AJ, I know you're excited for that one, so I want to give you a personal good luck for that race, and definitely we will have Monday racing back in SimPossible for the K&N cars. They're also wrapping up their season, so really that's all we got for you guys tonight. So hope you guys have a good night and stay awesome.